The capstone project midterm is during week number 8. Right? So that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's sometime like second or third weeks of March. Okay? Starting at week March 11 until that week. Now that most of you got your project advisor, what is going to be going on next on both sides? On our side, we're going to wait for you to talk to your project advisor to determine the final concrete scope of your project. We're going to talk about that today too, about the scope and what is going to be expected. And once you see that scope from your project profile, okay, once we get the scope from your project profile, actually the project profile is quite a number of things that we are anticipating to see, and today we're going to talk about that too. Once we get your project profile, a few things will happen. Number one, you're going to have the project committee assigned to you. This project committee will be with you until next semester. So throughout your project, this same group of committee will be evaluating your progress and your work. Okay, and during that midterm week and later on the examination week of the project, the examination date and time will be set by the committee. All right, so when we say the examination week, like for the midterm, that midterm is still, you will have classes going on. So that when there will be some time that you're free of the classes, that the committee will set the project examination. Okay, now it won't be on, likely it won't be on the same day at the same time. So some group, some committee group will set the date and time on some certain day. Another committee group will have date and time of the project examination on another date and time totally. Okay, we're going to have about 3 to 4 committee groups for this year. Then now the other expectation, I think we need to make clear, and I try to make it clear since I don't know when, but I just want to remind you again. Capstone project is not a teaching course. This is the evaluation course. They have been designed to evaluate your capability of using the learned knowledge from the other courses in the past. And at the same time, it has been designed to evaluate your other developed skills, including various other soft skills like time management, project management, like teamwork and leadership, like communication, presentation, like lifelong learning. Okay, so there are a number of dimensions that are all relevant within this. Now, with all these dimensions, it should be anticipated by all of you that this, by all means, is not the time to learn. You're supposed to be able to reach out to what you have learned already and apply. So, I mean, if you don't get this right, this is now time to adjust your expectation. Okay, the project is not just about get it done and that's it. It's not just about something that you can execute and show and that's it. All the various other aspects that probably in the past we have not emphasized hard enough, you'll be the revolution, okay? We will emphasize harder, very hard this year, and well, this is the beginning of that very hard emphasis. So be expecting that even though your project is like the best, you have no flaw at all in executing the project, you have great idea, have good implementation, you complete all the features. Even though you got to that point and you cannot communicate via effective presentation to explain what you have done, if everything is done toward the end and you have no way to show as an evidence that you have proper and effective project planning, if you have no documentation to support your work, do not expect that the best project that can run will get an A. It will not. It is not just about the best project that can run anymore. Okay? So plan well, work together as a team. And you will be evaluated in all dimensions possible that will test your ability to apply the technical skills that you have learned, and you will learn. So the technical skill will come from two branches. The first one, those you have learned already and you want to apply. The other one that you must learn in order to complete your project. It will be testing upon your soft skills. The pitching, the presentation, if you cannot present in English in a way that you're supposed to be able to, because you're about to graduate in a semester or two, then you're not supposed to get good grade or even graduate. This is capstone project. I don't know if you understand the word capstone. Capstone meant it is the stepping stone that covers all the needs that you have as a foundation that allow you to go forward and progress. It is not the teaching course by all means. The course is meant to evaluate, not teach. We'll still try to help you out. Okay, there'll be some advising, consulting. Some ajahn might decide to set up a few sessions to provide you with some additional lectures. You still have some proofreading service to help you out. But remember and bear in mind, those are not what supposed to be given to you. If they're there because we want, with our good intention, we want to help you out. We don't expect you to whine because you don't get it. We don't expect you to complain because you don't have it. And we do expect you to respect the deadline. Now another bright side, likely if you think that's kind of gloomy, there's a little silver lining at the end of the horizon, and that is you're the first batch that get this kind of renewed experience. So of course, some of these experiences, because they're new, there will be some trial and error and some leniency to be applied toward all these requirements. So let's hope that you'll get some loose, some leg rooms that you'll be able to wiggle somewhat. And now, we talk about the committee that a group will be assigned one, and you will be sticking with this committee until you finish your project. So the committee will have a whole lot of understanding and a whole lot of knowledge about your project. Okay, at the same time, this committee will be designed to help you out on your proposed technical and soft skill achievements that you're going to put on your project profile. So based on that, there will be the group that should be able to help you with the consulting. Okay, your project advisor, the main role now will shift to become more or less the manager. His or her main task will be to help ensure that you have the appropriate progress, okay, until you complete your project. This progress, of course, will be dependent on the scope. And if you are able to manage the scope that we agree, you get nice grade, okay, according to to your achievement. If not, then it depends on the scope that you propose. We'll look at the scope of your project and set some anticipated assigned grade for that project. You don't expect to have good grades if you are not going to work out on good database design and implementation. If you just think that because you learn Firebase from 231, 234, and then that will be it, you're going to use Firebase. Of course, you can use Firebase, but it doesn't show much of your understanding and achievement in terms of database design, and you're not going to get evaluated properly on the database part of your knowledge. Okay, so the more ambitious you are, the more dimensions that we can use to evaluate you. So if you don't think high, you don't go high. Just like that. We all know how much you have learned in the past. You all know how much you have learned in the past. And if you're always looking for easy way out, trying every time to cut the corners, of course, you're not gonna go very far. But first of all, that you need to, now you have your project advisor assigned, you need to go back and talk to your project advisor ASAP. Okay? Because based on what you propose, very few, if there was any at all, met all the expected requirements from your project advisors. So then there will be some modification, negotiation need to be done. That's part of the deal. Okay. Speaking of negotiation, when you go back to talk to your project advisor, that will be when you want to make concrete your project scope. You should do it ASAP. Okay, you should do it ASAP. And now, when that process is happening, there might be a few things that could happen. Number one, your advisor might see your proposed project and believe that you got like most of the features of the requirements done and should be okay with the project scope. Okay, that would be some minor adjustment. That will be good for you. Some advisors might see the potential in the group members, even though they don't like the project idea that much. Then there will be some negotiation, of course, probably from your advisor first. You can negotiate. You don't have to follow everything that your project advisor recommend. But if you don't negotiate, well, I guess in that case, you probably have to do what your project advisor have to do, want you to do. So put your negotiation skills to test. Check your ability, make sure you can finish it. Most of the time, your project advisor will be good at trying to slap down your scope to make sure that you have the just about right scope for implementation within a year, 2 semesters. But there used to be some cases that your advisor might see a lot of potential in you and try to push limit And if you don't, because you accept that push, then, well, like I told you before, the more ambitious you are, the better grade you could probably get. We love to see that too. And I hope you all love to see that as well. Now, with all this negotiation process, bear in mind as well, going back to this is the evaluation course, right? So this is not us that want to or have to be assigned to you, but rather it is you that must attract us to be your advisor. So if you don't get that, this is a good time to adjust your mindset. And so if after all the negotiation is done and you eventually come up empty-handed, no one would like to advise you because you don't want to change, because there's no good scope that any of the adjuncts see as appropriate for the project by the time of the midterm. And if you cannot identify the project advisor, then you're going to be assigned an I. This is also applicable to even those of you who already have the project advisor now, because as I told you, you're going to have to go back and talk to your advisor to finalize on the project scope. If after that talk, the negotiation fail and you cannot see eye to eye with your project advisor might decide to withdraw, then you would have to find another advisor. This withdrawal could happen in a few ways. One of those is just like complete withdrawal. I don't give anything about you anymore, that kind of withdrawal. Or there could be a swap of advisors. That also is possible. But I don't know what's going to happen. Take care of that. Okay? So finalize on the project scope is one of the next steps that you must do urgently, and that requires you to talk with your project advisor. Okay? If you don't have the project advisor yet, like I already told you, you need to find one ASAP. And as of now, I think there's only 2 adjuncts that will have the available slot for you to get as the project advisor with me, 2 more groups, and Ajahn Kiel, right? 1 more group. The next thing that you will do is to prepare the capstone project profile. I will post the template that will cover this for you later. But for your information, this capstone project profile will look something like this. It should be like a few pages, a couple pages at most, okay? And it will be used as a quick reference on what you plan to achieve. So this capstone project profile will include, number 1, the project title, number 2, the product title. The product title I already posted. If you don't like, you can change that. Okay, but practically what we're going to do with the product title is that if you don't do research, you should have some kind of product name that would allow us to easily ID your project. Okay, and also it's a good way for you, it's a good time for you, good challenge to come up with a nice marketable kind of product name. Okay, so you could have your project title like a long title, that should be fine. But with that project title, you should also come up with the nice product title for your project. Except for those who work on the research, you should all have the product title. Okay, and then you have to identify your or declare, identify would be, you have to declare your project orientation. right? Using that business system research spectrum. Put it where you think your project is supposed to be. The more you orient toward the business application, the more real world we would expect to see from your project. Okay, so real world application, of course, come along with all the logic that makes sense. Why you do that? Why you care about that experience? Why this? Why that? And why not that? Okay. So we are expecting that kind of real world experience from the business-oriented application. Then if you move yourself toward the system research, a functional prototype might be enough. But that said, that functional prototype will have to be accompanied with the other activities related to that research activities, research methodologies that you have designed. Okay, the focus will be smaller, but we are expecting you to go deeper in terms of probably technical knowledge and details in there. And of course, that kind of real-world expectation that we have seen or expecting from the business-oriented application won't be applied here. You can just pick up on one thing that you want to prove and just go all the way out, just working on that little thing there. That can also be done. Okay, and then you need to put on an overview of your project. After the overview, now that's the other thing that you need to work out with your project advisors. Okay, this is not yet finalized, but it will go along this way. You can just, at least you know that's going to happen. Number one, you're going to need to identify the features that you want us to evaluate. So you're going to put on that accessible features of your product or project. Like I said, the more you put in there, of course, the better you're going to look in terms of the achievement. But you don't want to put like every bits and pieces of the achievement in there. Okay, you just focus on, when we talk about features, feature is not a function, right? It's a features. Okay, a feature consists of several functions that work together to provide certain features of your project or product. Okay. So you're going to have to boast the features of your project that you want to be evaluated. Some of these features would be some common features, some supplemental or auxiliary features. You cannot not have it, because without them, your real-world experience of the business-oriented application, for example, might not be possible. So you need to have them to provide that support. And then there should be some distinct features. Okay, there should be some distinct features of your project. This distinct features is important because we normally don't recommend you to make the project that someone else, some other companies have already had that project commercialized, or not even commercialized, and put on the open source and accessible. Speaking of a duplicate, some of the groups that you don't get the project advisors, unfortunately, there's so much duplicate in the project groups. Then I think there's two groups that the scope are so very similar. So much similarity that, well, might be because you started with the other courses like 291, like 352, but that kind of similarities in those classes are fine, but it has some negative repercussion. And one of those repercussions was that when the Ajahn see the similarities between these projects, they see them as competitive. And because of that competitiveness of the two projects, when one project is decided by some Ajahn to be the advisor, the other project just got neglected altogether because no one would love to supervise something so similar to the other project. So you are running the risk. Okay, you are running the risk when the project scopes are so very similar like this. Now, if you have a chance, by words of mouth, to next year and the other years, just pass it along, this kind of message. Okay, so we are expecting to see some distinct features from these accessibles, from the features that you want them to be evaluated. Then, after that, there will be the profile of the skills you will be using. These skills, okay, the accessible technical skills from the past knowledge and the new knowledge should be listed here. I'm going to be using this to help decide on who would be your project committee. We try our best to have the committee members that would be able to evaluate all of these skills. Not just evaluate, help you out as well. Okay? You don't get to see any of the soft skills there because soft skills are just there. They're just like inherent to pretty much all the steps involved. So you don't get to see them that much. Now, you and your project advisor will probably have to work out on the proposed baseline assessment. And that baseline assessment will be equivalent to you to get a pass or a C grade on the project. This is the cut line. If you don't get everything here as a baseline, you're not going to get a C. And if you want a B or an A, you have to go above and beyond. Typically, this kind of baseline will come in the form of the Bloom action verb. Typically, okay, so it will be used as part of the rubrics that are going to be developed later. And yeah, man, using this baseline, you should be able to provide the evidence on your achievement. And using this baseline, the rubrics will be developed with the baseline, providing you with that, threshold of pass and fail. Don't worry too much. You're going to be working with this with your advisors. Okay, but don't expect some work because your advisors will probably just like provide you the guidance, giving you some pointers to where you're supposed to be able to find additional information, and eventually it's gonna be you, each of the group, who have to come up with all this. Because it's your work. Okay, so that will need to be done at least, I think a week before the midterm or before your exam. But roughly around that time, the project profile need to be signed off by your advisor. And it is this project profile that will be used by all the committee members. Okay, when you evaluate your work, you're gonna look at what you propose as the baseline. If you have the rubric available, what should be evaluated based on what achievement, what kind of grades you're supposed to get. Okay, now, I also said that part of this achievement, whenever you work on the project, regardless of this is the software development project or the research project, always documentation is a big part of all this. You cannot treat it as the second-class citizen. You should not, even though in the past we kind of being so lenient about that. So much so that some groups took advantage of this and disregard all the deadline. And when you disregard the deadline, a few things happen. Ajahn Shubi, who proofread your work, she got inundated with all the submissions toward the end, and that becomes impossible to get everything done in time. That's number one. Number two, when some of the groups just did not pay attention and disregarded all of these deadlines, the late submission and the late grade assignment resulted in all the groups within that class not having seen the grades in due time. Sometimes this happens because just one group. And we were so because we just like, oh, okay, without this, then he or she will not graduate, even though that was kind of a bit selfish. We're gonna try to do more, okay, and try to be more rigid regarding that. And at the same time, the project report, this is different from the 490. In 490, there's the that's capstone project writing. That report is totally on different format, and it was the task that meant to evaluate on your writing skills, and at the same time, your ability to reach out to the collected data, analyze and turn that into some appropriate writing format. Okay. Now for 498 and 499. For 498 and 499, the capstone project report will typically include of three major parts. The first part is where you are working on right now, that is your project proposal. The project proposal part will include your proposal, the one that you already submitted, okay, and probably need to revise depending on any additional changes after you discuss your project scope with your advisor. And project profile, that's also what you're going to be working on. All of this should be pretty much done and ready by the midterm, the project midterm. Okay? The second major part, this is where you find the meat of your project documentation. This part depends on your approach. If you work on Agile development process, then we will follow the report that you will submit from 231 to 234. Okay? I'm gonna have more information for you as a reminder later. Okay, but based on 231, 234, you have to set up the workbook, including your tasks on various stages, various sprints, of your design, you have to include the work breakdown and the log, okay, the product log, sprint logs for your product. And all of that information will be turned, including, remember 231, 234, you have the UX UI design as well. Okay, all of those will be turned into the report that you submit to Ajahn Tei and Ajahn Vithita. Okay, that is when you want your project to follow the Agile method. But if not, if you think you like the traditional methodology, then I will have a template for you to follow. This template will be just the requirement specification in the SIS, okay, the software requirement specification, and the SAD, the software architecture document. Okay, with the SRS and SAD, that will cover enough requirements, including the analysis model for you. Okay, this is a huge document. These two are huge documents. And to be honest, because we started pretty late this semester, we don't expect you to work using the traditional approach this semester, because it's going to take you so much time to complete these two documents. So this semester it's much better, much more appropriate to work using the Agile method. Okay, and for those of you who work on research, then you follow the thesis format, or the one that we have been using for so long, that includes chapter 1 to chapter 5. And eventually, there's a conclusion chapter. That's your chapter 5. I mean, that's why I put chapter 1 to 4 right there. That's your chapter 5. Okay, this one will be applicable to all of you, regardless of which method you're going to be using. Now, I already mentioned, even with the Agile or even traditional approach, what you are going to be providing, including in the report, are roughly up to the design. Even the architecture document, that's also the design of the architecture, and that will include the workflow and providing some of the activity diagrams or the flow chart of what activities, what kind of action will involve within working with your software or your application. Another thing that you have to include in your project is you have to maintain your Git. And what we have right now is GitLab have already been set up. Okay, and even though you're working with the system outside, you can sync back to GitLab. Okay, so all of you will have GitLab to maintain your code base. Well, of course, it's GitLab, right? So you can provide additional details on your work on the Git system. We can see the updates, the activities, what is going on, and we have what did you say we have set up for GitLab? There's also the project. Then we have the project manager features within GitLab being set up for you as well. Okay, this part is for your code. Right? This part is for your code. So that means, so long as you have the code involved in the project, you're gonna have to use GitLab and the project manager of GitLab to capture additional details of your activities. Okay, that will be ongoing, right? Especially this part will be ongoing, and we'll set up the timeline for you with the milestones and the deadline for all of this for you to see, so that you can get yourself prepared on what you have to do. All right, so that is pretty much it. The main points: number one, you need to talk to your project advisor ASAP. Number two, you need to develop the project profile ASAP. The rest, additional details, especially on this documentation, will come out later.
Okay.
Ajahn Tun is in Canada right now, and I guess you know how to contact him. If not, talk to Pinik. Okay, she will be able to get you in touch with Ajahn Tun. Any questions? Next year, the capstone project activity will start in 3/1 instead of 3/2. Okay, because there's additional things that you have to do. We are kind of hopeful that by the start of the second semester of third year, where you register for 498, okay, by the start you should have pretty much these two ready and get ready for the implementation.
รีบเลยมาทำเด็กจบ3 ปี
เก่งจริงอะ
All right. So if there's no questions, thank you very much. Okay. Remember two main points. All right. Talk to your advisor and the project profile. Thank you very much.
บายบายหน่อยบายบายหน่อยบายบายหน่อยบายบายหน่อยบายบายบายบายบายบายบายบาย
เดี๋ยววันเสาร์วันศุกร์